Hello and welcome to a new and improved way of counting. Over the past few months and over the past year, I have been planning a new book called Sight Reading and Rhythm. In Sight Reading and Rhythm, it will be laid out in the same fashion as my Sight Reading and Harmony book, except instead of focusing on notes and chords, we'll be focusing only on rhythms, with some notes in there, but it will be mostly just rhythm exercises, learning time signatures, and working with a metronome and being able to count correctly. And as I was developing these ideas, I was just recently I was working on a hymn with a piano student, and my student was playing hymn number 358 from the Lutheran hymnal here. And this hymn, it's From Heaven Above to Earth I Come. And the first chord here is a half note, and then you have quarter notes. You have a half note, and then you have quarter notes. It's in 4/4 time. So that first half note is actually at the end of a measure, which means that in the traditional way of counting, this is going to start on count 3. So the traditional way, it doesn't start on count 1, it starts on count 3. So we have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. So the half note is a pickup. Well, I asked my student to count it because he knew his notes pretty well, and now we were working on establishing a steady beat. And he started counting like this: 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, that's the way we all learn. So that was totally natural to him because that's what he was taught from a young age, or whenever he started piano. This is an adult student, by the way, that I was teaching. I was thinking there has to be a better way, because it was slowing him down. He was becoming so concerned with starting with count 3 and doing an and then doing 4 and then an and, then a 1 and an and then a 2 and an and. His counting was taking away from his playing of the piece. It was slowing him down. There has to be a better way, and there is a better way. This is my new improved way of counting. How about this? Instead of counting when you're in 4/4 time, if you have eighth notes, where we're taught from the very early stages of piano, we're usually taught to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, what's easier, doing that or doing this? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, my personal belief is the second one is easier. The second one is easier for a couple of reasons. The first reason is you don't have to worry about and, so you don't have to put another syllable in there. The second reason is that you don't have to worry about a number. In the first way, the traditional way of counting, you're putting numbers on each one of the beats. But you don't need to know that, because if your eighth note is steady, that's holding your quarter notes together. You don't need to know what beat you're on. You don't need to know at all what beat you're on. That's not important. The important thing is that you're able to maintain a steady flow. That's the important thing. You don't need to know whether you're on count 3 or whether you're on count 4. All you need to do is be able to establish a very steady eighth note speed, and that will hold all the quarter notes together. So in this example here, from heaven above to earth I come, the first half note, remember it starts on beat 3, so there's 4 eighth notes in every half note, right? So we're just going to count to 4. So we're going to count to 4 for the half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then when we get to the quarter notes, we're going to count to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now we have a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note. So in that case, I'm going to count to 4, and I'm going to play the dotted quarter note on count 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then that will help me place the last eighth note on count 4. Now you're probably wondering, but you need to have the numbers in order to keep track of what beat you're on. Well, I just covered that. We don't need to know that. That's not really an important thing to know. All you need to be able to do is keep that steady grounding at the eighth note level. So he started using this way of counting, just counting to 2 for every quarter note and counting to 4 for every half note, and it was a revelation. He was able to do it really easily after that. His rhythm improved 100%. Had he been doing it the traditional way, he still would have been struggling with the counting. The counting would have been taking away from his making music and taking away from a steady beat. Okay, now I'm going to turn to sight reading and harmony, and I'm going to turn to number 16, page 16 in G minor. I just chose this because I like G minor and I like this particular chorale. So I'm going to demonstrate here with grades 1, 2, and I'm going to demonstrate it using the traditional way of counting and then with the new and improved way of counting that I've developed. Okay, here's the traditional way. The first note, G, starts on count 4. We're in 4/4 time again, and we're starting on count 4. So I have to start on 4 and. But in order to start on 4 and, I have to probably count a beat before that so I can establish this beat. So I'm going to start on count 3. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and 1, and then it repeats. That is cumbersome, to say the least. Cumbersome. You have to count numbers sequentially, and you have to put and between the numbers. That is cumbersome. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, actually. Now, let's do the new improved way. I'm just simply going to count to 2. I'm going to count to 2, and every time I count to 2, I'm going to play a quarter note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it goes, repeats, count in your head, count in your head. So even when you're not counting out loud, what you need to do is count in your head. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's the tick that keeps everything together. That's like the glue that holds all the quarter notes together. I think this is a much better way to count. You don't need to know what beat you're on. Like I said before, that's not an important thing. You don't need to know whether you're on count 3 or count 4. The only important thing is that you're able to maintain a steady microbeat, is what I call it, that 8th note microbeat. That's going to hold everything together, and that's going to make everything very steady for you. Now I'll try it on the grade 7 to 8 line here. It's a really beautiful hymn, or beautiful chorale, and I'm just going to count to 2 for each one of these chords. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, So were you able to feel that slow quarter note beat? And then also in your head, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Much better than 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, in my opinion. What about 3s and 4s? Well, we can use the same system for triplets and for quadruplets. That is the triplets or 16th notes. And those are the 3 possibilities that you'll find in probably 90% of piano music. You have groups of 2s, you have groups of 3s in the case of triplets, or maybe 6/8 time, and you have the case of quadruplets or 16th notes. So how does this work? Well, this